Well, every week I think that I have found something so disturbing, something so crazy that it can't be real. And then I go to bed and I wake up hoping that what I just found isn't real. And that the dystopian patents that I find and the executive orders, I hope they're not real. But then they keep being real. I go to bed, I wake up, they're real.
Around 2030, I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface. Wow. Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
And yesterday I found what I believe to be the most disturbing thing I've found so far. And Jordan, this is your first time really being on a show with me, right?
Yeah, pretty close.
Okay, so I'm going to have you on the show, and we're going to have the great Mel K with us. But before we introduce our guest, I'm just going to tell you, this show is going to blow your mind. And why you're here, the purpose of you being here is I want you to see this dystopian craziness for the first time. And I'm looking for your reaction because you haven't seen this funk.
I enumerated 24 different technologies. And at the end, it is a fusion of the material or physical, biological, and digital world. If you look at the book of Professor Hariri, Homo Deus, you see, brain advancement and when you see what's happening in artificial intelligence and so on.
And when you see this funk, when you see this, I think your head's going to explode.
I hope it doesn't.
And then Mel K is going to help us sort through it because she understands how it all connects together, okay? So we're going to have a blasty blast, but I'm watching your face. I'm watching your face. Mel K, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you?
I'm great. I'm always happy to be here. Great to be back. It's been a minute, but yeah, no, things are popping out, and a lot of it connects to a lot of stuff that has been going on a very long time. I love the work you're doing on this, and I think we'll get into it, and we'll see where this leads, where the big picture is, and who's behind it.
Now, Mel, what I'm going to try to do, just so listeners can kind of follow along the plan here, I'm going to cue up this video, and I'm going to pause it at certain times, and you can kind of explain to me what is going on. And then I'm going to take notes because you're one of the most well-researched people, and I'm going to see if we can piece it together. Then every time that Jordan gets nauseous, we'll pause if we need to. So here we go. So I'm going to pull up this video clip. Now, this video clip is, I put this out yesterday, and it's called... COVID-19 shots. What is the purpose of the COVID-19 shots? The entire intra-body nano network administered through vaccines, transhumanism, the Internet of Bodies, central bank, digital currency, Great Reset explained. Okay, so I'm going to play. Here we go.
No, they're not blood clots. And what I'm about to say is going to sound really crazy, but I trust you will look into it. Look into intra-body nano network administered through vax. No, they're not blood clots.
Around January or February, an embalmer came forward. He was board certified. He's a great guy. He's also a licensed funeral director, very trained. And he said, Dr. Jane, I just got to come out and tell you, I've been finding these clots in people. When I try to embalm them, I can't get in. Embalming is pushing, the blood out and pushing new preservative fluid.
Okay, so Mel, I looked it up. I looked it up, and I'm looking up, okay, intra-body. I looked this up, and I'm like, intra-body molecular communication networks. It's on the NIH website. Mel, what is going on?
Well, it's hard. You and I have done what we can. And believe me, they are scared because they are really talking about stopping misinformation, disinformation as they continue to go forward, telling everyone exactly what they want to do. I'm sure you saw the World Economic Forum, which is where this is coming from at the top. There's people above them. They're the face people right now. But they're talking about implanting all of our children from birth, that's a really good idea. They're talking about superhumans, ending all this stuff. What this is about is it's a digital wallet, and it includes everything: your bio data, your financials, your bank account, what you spend your money on, your health records, your actual biometric data in real time. And also the ability to manipulate you mentally, physically, and psychologically through what basically is transhumanism, putting things inside your body that react to a AI supercomputer that they control. Noah Harari doesn't hide this. He says that he can control people. It's no problem. They're way ahead. And it is actually what it is it's the controlled the control of all humanity as if we're cattle, with an AI system controlled by the central bankers in Davos and their overlords to basically behavior modify, behavior control, and depopulate our country and the world.
Jordan, I'm going to cue up this clip here. This clip here is sort of my way that I process all of this. This is if I had to when I saw this these clips, I learned this technology. This is exactly what I thought. Here we go.
I have a bad feeling about this.
I don't sense anything.
I've got a bad feeling about this.
Bad feeling about this.
I've got a bad feeling about it.
I have a bad feeling about this. Jordan, how do you process this? You haven't seen this before. Seeing this for the first time. What are your thoughts?
Disturbed, to put it really simply. That's pretty gnarly. Definitely don't want that in my body, and I don't know why anyone would.
This right here looks like calamari.
Yeah.
You know, and
I think you just put me off calamari for a while.
Okay, let's continue watching the horror show. Again, here we go. Let me play.
It in, and he said, I had to clear the way, and I'm finding these white, stringy, clots that are fibrous, and I don't know what they are. I've never seen them.
Mel, white, stringy clots. Never seen them before. They look a lot like calamari. What in the Mel is going on there? What are these shot clots?
Well, it does appear, if you put together all the information that we have from all the Libra documents, all the patents, everything that's going on, is that this is the self-replicating clots that we were told about that are basically they're able to transmit into your body and get your data and manipulate your mind and control your biometrics through technology and frequency, and all the things that they were saying weren't true all this time. It appears that these whatever they're injecting in there, and it's interesting because Moderna is now suing Pfizer and BioNTech over the technology, and I'm thinking they're fighting over this technology. It's technology that they're putting in your body. There is no other explanation except for they are putting inside of you exactly what the guy from Pfizer and the guy from Alibaba both said at the World Economic Forum they were going to do, just like they did 2 days ago on the World Economic Forum website. They are track, trace, surveilling, and controlling humanity from the inside out with technology, as Harari told us they can. And that's what this is about. That's what I believe that is. And I believe that it is a diabolical plan to completely control humanity from the inside out.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but again, Charles Lieber is the Harvard scientist that was paid $50,000 a month that we know of to create nanotechnology that goes inside the human body for the Chinese. And he was financed by Jeffrey Epstein and Bill Gates. Jordan, did you know that?
I did not know that.
How are you processing this?
I didn't know that we had a sci-fi movie going on right now, but we do.
Now, I want to brag on Jordan for a second. Jordan manages one of our businesses. It's a haircut chain. We cut hair. So Jordan does a great job, and he's on the path to promotion to become a consultant for us. And so in my world, it's a weird world because during the lockdowns, quarantines, curfews, I decided, just like Mel decided, many of their patriots, I'm not going to shut my business down. I'm not going to lock down. I'm not going to capitulate. So I sued the mayor of Tulsa, turned my building into a church, did all the things I can do. And now it's like we find ourselves, in the most politically charged time in American history. If you're trying to work have you had customers that are still terrified about the mask thing, or how's it going in the store?
It's going better. We've had some customers who come in and throw a fit because we're not wearing a mask. And we say, well, yours is good, right? And they want a beard trim with a mask on. So it doesn't work out. But most everyone is good.
Okay, let's hit play. Here we go.
Before 2021, like mid 2021.
So around 2030, I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface.
Wow.
Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
That's Pekka Lundmark, the head of Nokia, talking about how you're going to have this technology in your body. Mel, did you say that the Alibaba, their head guy, also talked about this?
Yep. The head of Alibaba said that they had a geo tracking and tracing app that they were rolling out as well. Along with this is all part of the same thing. Honestly, if you look at this stuff and you go on, and I keep telling people to do it, World Economic Forum, World Health Organization, UN, IMF, World Bank, the EU, and basically, if you can sort through it, a bunch of secret type societies in America, they're all saying the same thing. This is about a full track and trace digital surveillance, quote unquote, wallet that will be also a QR code. You've played the thing from Harari when he says, if you are not on the grid and the blockchain that they set up, you won't be able to interact in life. That is the goal here. And just a couple days ago, well, last week on the 16th of August, the World Economic Forum put out a call to action to transform society with augmented reality by putting implants into children at birth, because they want to, the physiological and the artificial intelligence would merge inside of children from birth on. They're saying that this technology will transform society and individual lives. Totally leaves out who will be tracking and tracing this, because everyone needs to understand all of the stuff that they're doing with all of this biometrics and data and track and trace and ESG score and implanting us with chips and no longer having phones because everything's going to be inside us is going to be overseen by them. This is all part of the big agenda, the Great Reset, whatever you want to call it, to end sovereign governments worldwide and have people like Noah Harari and all of his friends in Davos, and then all the infiltrators that are in the Biden regime that are playing along, have ultimate power, and not just us, we the people, not have our votes or our voices heard or counted. Our government will have no power. And all of this will be done through AI and technology that is already, in my opinion, been placed all over our country by very corrupt politicians in the name of smart cities, smart meters, technology, things all over New York. There's these kiosks. People think they have ads. They don't have ads. They're watching you. They have all of this. It is really, really nefarious. And we did not consent to any of it.
Now, this is the article. I'll put it in the show notes. Augmented tech can change the way we live, but only with the right support and vision from the World Economic Forum, which, by the way, the World Economic Forum continues to have a 666 logo. They continue to have it. And let me just take a moment to gather my thoughts.
Whoa. Very bad feeling about this.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Okay, so this is Yuval Noah Harari. He is here talking all about babies. He's talking about babies, and I don't like him talking about babies, but I don't like to hear him talk at all. But here he is, really talking about babies.
If an algorithm now increasingly makes decision for me, the algorithm will still find it difficult to change my core values. But if you start with a baby or a young child, and more decisions about the life of that child are taken by an AI mentor, again, not an evil mentor that actually serves some corporation, but a mentor
that is what he's talking about.
Really serving the interests of that child, but it learns on the way, it changes, and you don't really know. You trust the algorithm, but you don't really know where are these decisions coming from. A human can't go over all the data and understand it. And these decisions also shape the values of the child as she or he is growing up.
Jordan, are you down with this? Is this something you're excited about?
No.
Why?
Because I want to control my own thoughts, and I want my kids to be able to have their own thoughts and their own lives.
What do you think about Yuval, just in general? This guy,
He kind of looks like a hairless cat.
Yeah. He is the top advisor he's top advisor for Schwab, Gates, Obama, Zuckerberg. They all love this guy. And there's people above him as well. And I'm not really sure his whole relationship. I don't really want to know, but there are more and more people refer to him as the prophet now, Mel. And I want to play this clip that you referenced earlier. This is Yuval talking about his vision for the future.
Historian Yuval Harari has developed his vision of the future by studying the past. His Israeli roots are of crucial importance to the formation of his view of the future. He's now using all of that knowledge to give us his vision for the future.
With especially the rise of brain-computer interfaces and biometric sensors and so forth, it is very likely that within, say, 50 years, people will literally be part of a network. All the bodies, all the brains would be connected together to a network, and you won't be able to survive if you're disconnected from the net, because your own body parts, your own immune system, perhaps depends on being constantly connected to the colony, to the network.
Jordan, you a big fan of this? You're a big technology guy. You like this?
I mean, it's helpful in ways, but no.
Have you heard this stuff before?
Yeah.
You have heard that?
I have heard that.
You've been going pretty deep on the research, huh?
Not as deep as I should, but I've heard that.
Okay, let me hit play here. This is Alibaba, their head, their president here, saying what Mel referenced earlier. Here we go.
We're developing through technology an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint.
This guy makes me crazy.
Right?
What does that mean? Where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So individual carbon footprint tracker. Stay tuned. We don't have it operational yet, but this is something that we're working on.
Unbelievable. The audacity of these people, the mindset these people have, but we must know. And people say, why do you talk about these things? Why do you cover these things? I'm telling you, every time I go to the Reawaken America tour, we get there in the morning. Mel does a great job greeting as many people as we can. We try to spend time with people, invest in them, encourage them, empower, educate. Mel goes to the meet and greet faithfully. She goes, it's a Friday night. I go to my little 5 a.m. meet and greet. She goes to the one that's like at 6 p.m. or whatever. But the thing is, we're meeting as many people as we can. And people tell me every time, they say, I've never heard of any of this stuff if it wasn't for the tour. Let me hit play on this. I want to get Mel's wisdom on this. Again, this is
2030. I would say that by then, definitely the smartphone as we know it today will not anymore be the usual kind of the most common interface. Wow. Many of these things will be built directly into our bodies.
And so, for several months, he started sending me pictures and videos, and other embalmers, to tell you the truth, have come forward to me, and they've shown me their pictures and their videos, but they don't want to come out and talk about it. They're not afraid for their jobs. They're afraid for their lives, they told me.
A good two-way communication system, direct communication system between brains and computers, this is kind of the watershed moment.
Mel, I've got a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
What is going on?
Yeah, I mean, and we have to also look. I was doing a show with somebody and they were asking me a question, and I go, we don't really have to say it because they say it themselves. And a lot of the stuff that they're promoting, but like I said, it's across all their networks, because what we need to understand is that the reason we talk about this is because this is who the real enemy is. If you look up the World Economic Forum and the UN, both have all laid out their global governance consortium for digital currencies, but they also have their global governance groups that they've already created, some of them all the way back to 2008, 2009, when a lot of this really started. But you're going to find on the UN website also, Secretary General appoints high-level panel on digital cooperation. So when Harari or this woman that wrote the article last week are talking about this, the one thing that they aren't saying is who's controlling everything. And in fact, the World Economic Forum and the UN's website says, in fact, that it is them. And it is the people and partners that they picked in the private-public partnership of the World Economic Forum that are going to be overseeing all of this. So when this woman is asked, she said that it's going to be an ethical and a group of like Klaus Schwab says, of carefully chosen
Oh.
people in private organizations that will be controlling the input data for these transformed, superhuman, transhuman implants that they want to put into every human being on the planet in order. And like Jordan's saying, if you listen to half of what they're saying, it sounds like, well, that's a good thing. So they're saying you won't need eyeglasses, you won't need hearing implants, you won't need, all this stuff. The other side of the story is you won't need that. They will be providing everything, controlling everything, and you will somewhat be, like Klaus Schwab says, the goal of the fourth industrial revolution. You are half now human, half transhuman, half cyborg, half controlled by AI. And that to them is a good thing. And they do not deny, not the UN, not the IMF, not the World Economic Forum, not the World Health Organization, that they would be controlling all of the data. So there's no privacy whatsoever in your life, in anything you do from that point on. And this guy from Alibaba, add in also Climate Trace by Al Gore, same thing. And the Climate Trace one is to track and trace all of the carbon nonsense, but also put it on a blockchain so that everyone knows, and that people can shame you like they did if you didn't wear a mask or get a vaccine in the beginning into compliance. And like Harari said, if you're not going to live on their grid and under their control, you're not going to live. It's the truth.
Now, Jordan, are you a single guy? Are you dating? What are you doing over here? What are you doing?
I am single.
You're single?
Yep.
So you're meeting women out there. Are you seeing some craziness out there?
There's a lot of craziness out there.
I mean, I just want to, because I met my wife in 1999. And I remember I met her at Oral Roberts University. So it was a Christian college. And Mel, at the time, if you can remember 1999, it seemed like on average, 2/3 of people weren't crazy. It is just my rough average. I don't have any stats here. It's my thing, just going through life, 18, 19. I'd go on a date. 2 out of the 3 people I'd go on a date with weren't crazy. Maybe not a good fit, but weren't crazy. Maybe I was not a good fit, but the idea. Now, though, it just in our businesses in the last 3 months, were you there in one of the stores one day when we had the overdose lady? Were you there for that? The drug lady?
Yep.
Yeah. So like one of my businesses, it's like overdose, and it's like, what? Well, the thing is, I run a haircut chain, and I would say in my world, I think there's like 1 overdose a month that I know of that happens in the store.
Oh my God.
Like in the store from somebody, a customer, a potential employee. I mean, a lot of people just come in straight high.
Mm-hmm.
Or do you see that? The people coming in high?
Oh yeah. Yeah. They'll take a big puff right before they come in and just walk right in. And
I see it. And I'm just saying I want people to understand this is Yuval Noah Harari and Soros, they're pushing this agenda of keeping everybody dumbed down through drugs and computer games. And I mean, I'm talking people like crazy stuff. I could take an entire show to talk about the crazy stuff I've seen people do in the stores, and I'm seeing that they're pushing this drug agenda. So I'm going to go to this little clip here and see if you can make sense of it, Mel, because Harari is just all about saying that, people are useless and we just got to keep them busy with drugs and computer games.
Again, I think that the biggest question maybe in economics and politics of the coming decades will be what to do with all these useless people. The problem is more boredom and what to do with them and how will they find some sense of meaning in life when they are basically meaningless, worthless. My best guess at present is a combination of drugs and computer games as a solution for more. It's already happening in under different titles, different headings. You see more and more people spending more and more time or solving their inner problems with drugs and computer games.
This is the top advisor for Obama, Zuckerberg, Gates. Have you seen this before, Jordan?
No. So what he's saying is, you're bored. We can help you. Here's some drugs. Here's some video games. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. And we're going to control you. It's going to be great.
Mel, how does this fit in? This drugs and computer games, useless people. How does this all fit in to where they're taking us here?
Well, it all fits into that they they no longer feel that it's necessary to have human beings on the planet because, again, they don't see people like we see people. These people have they're soulless. They have no God, no compassion, no morals. No, I mean, they're a different breed. They believe that they're a superior breed, by the way. But what I will tell you is that they don't think that the inalienable rights, the things given to us by our creator, our ability to be creative and ingenuity and the ability to solve problems and to create, they don't think any of that matters. The one thing we do need to save ourselves from these demons is to reinvest in our country and have entrepreneurs and thinkers and people that want to manufacture and want to rebuild our infrastructure. That is the absolute opposite of what the Biden regime in cahoots with these globalists want. They want a dystopia, kind of like the new Blade Runner movie out there by Agenda 2030, where only they have
Blade Runner
resources and everything. And we live in, anyone who's left either is a serf and a worker, or we live in smart cities, fully tracked, traced, controlled, surveilled. Everything we eat, buy, spend, travel, our children from birth, injected. And from that point on, they believe that they're going to live forever because of this technology, and they don't want the rest of humanity to live along with them.
There's a lot of things you just said that blew my mind. So let's talk about this for a second here. New Blade Runner movie. What are you talking about?
So there's a new Blade Runner movie. I think I'm watching it and I'm thinking, well, Ridley Scott should have just said that it was a PSA. Because if you watch that new movie, you're going to say, this is exactly what Agenda 2030 wants. And it's really disturbing watching that, knowing that Agenda 2030, if people don't know, all of the steps that they're taking for sustainable development goals is against humanity. It is these people are in some kind of death cult. They believe that they have worked on the transhumanism and the entire aspect of living forever. That's a lot of these people. They don't think that they're going to die. Only we are, and they're looking to do that as quick as possible. But it's a total dystopia. The lie about CO2, the lie about nitrogen. I mean, they're hoarding. This whole natural asset class they're claiming that they own, which is all natural resources on the planet. Somehow the Davos crew owns. And I really have to say, all of this stuff goes back to even before people think. Obama, in 2008, when the crash happened, that's really when they started to really consolidate the one world government thing. And I believe Hillary Clinton was supposed to seal the deal. They cannot have sovereign nations, sovereign governments, anything for the people, by the people, our Constitution, and most importantly, God, in order for them to have the Great Reset.
Now, without getting it super weird, I'm going to go a little weird, but not super weird. Okay. What I've discovered, people say, well, how do people get this evil? Now, again, Mel worked in Hollywood, and I'm just going to summarize it. Mel, please interject if I say something that's incorrect. Let me just kind of get to the end of my brief rant here on this. Okay. I've met many people that were attractive males and females, good at acting, whatever. And the ones that made it to the top, I remember meeting a couple of them on their way to the top, very like midway through the top. And they went from being like nice people to total jerks. So it was like, they're very nice, very humble, very nice. And then all of a sudden it's like a total jerk. And so it's weird because we knew each other. So it's like, hey, let's get together. We get together, and I recognize these people have gone from, conservative Christian background to literally looking down upon all humanity. I've seen this in the music space. I've seen this in the acting space, where they, will talk negatively about the people that pay them. They talk negatively about everybody. And you kind of wonder, how did they go from like a fairly talented musician or actor to all of a sudden like the top in the world, and that top 2%, top 1%. And you start to wonder, how are they on Ellen? How are they on all these shows? How does that happen? And then they start showing up with weird tattoos, and they do weird pictures. Like they do pictures in magazines where they're covering an eye or making some weird, symbol with their hands. And you see all this. And it would appear, and you hear, people like, people who aren't in that world, they'll go, yeah, I probably made a deal with the devil. What does that deal with the devil look like? How does somebody go from Midwest conservative person to now pushing climate change, lockdowns, quarantines, curfews, teaming up with, it's like the people who are at the Super Bowl without a mask, the Beyoncés, the Ellens, that group. And I know some people in that group. When someone says they made a deal with the devil, what are the little things they've done that have chipped away at their character or their standards of morality and has taken them to where they are?
Well, I think, first of all, everyone was very outraged about Britney Spears, her conservatorship with her dad. I would say that almost everyone in Hollywood that gets to a certain level is in a conservatorship. The whole structure is set up, agents, managers. First of all, every celebrity that you see on that level probably has 10 to 15 people on their payroll that make sure that they do what they need to do. But there is a contract, an actual contract, and they are somewhat owned. And they are a business, and that is how they are treated. That is what they are. The more they make for the people that are above them, the more important they become. The big thing is that it's a grooming process, first and foremost. And there's also a huge amount of blackmail and things that happen. A lot of people do come out later and talk about it, young actresses or young actors that went through the whole casting couch or agreed to be in a nude scene, but didn't realize everything was being shot and that they're being told it's going to be edited out, but no, they have that. Or they're at a party like with Epstein or Weinstein or whatever, and they're drugged and then they're in horrible situations. There is a tremendous amount of blackmail at the top. There is also a very, very blind ambition of a lot of these people that think they can handle it. And once the drugs and alcohol come in, which is often supplied by the same people that have them under contract, these people become desperate and they need to keep going. Another thing is financial blackmail. They'll set up the same people that have your contract will be setting up your family members with trusts or with money or whatever. And then it's like, if you don't do what we said, we're going to cut off your mom and all your nieces and this and that. There's so much blackmail and manipulation that goes on. And then there's a tremendous amount of brainwashing. It can't be denied. It happens all the time. If you're seeing celebrities that go in and out of rehabs, there's a good chance they're not going in and out of rehabs, and that there's a programming, there's a grooming. It starts a lot of times for me. I was in an acting school and I had no idea that it was connected at the very top to the whole cult mentality out there and the club. And that's the way you do it. You get a little here, a little there, you get invited in slowly. Next thing you know, you're either blackmailed or something happens and you don't want it to.
So people like, maybe let's just use an example. So somebody is like an actress and they don't know, and next thing you know, they got video doing a very bad thing, and now that's used over them for years, like saying, if you don't do what we want, we'll expose you. Is that what's happening?
Yes.
And you hear a lot about Epstein, and for people out there that don't know your background, I mean, you were a very much connected in Hollywood. You were a respected, a producer of content. You were very involved in the film world. Did you personally know people that had connected to Epstein and that whole world?
I knew a lot of people, which is sad. I also, there's also other groups. You and I will do a show at some point. People need to start looking at the Council of Foreign Relations. I know they're not going to like that, but that's where a lot of the people controlling the media, that they're in a club over there, and it was created for a reason by the same people that basically created the World Economic Forum. But I will say that the thing you have to know is that there is a cost for getting there, and that cost, people want it so bad. And I was 19, still at NYU when I came across Epstein for the first time. And I have to tell you, I knew girls that lived in that building that he owned, that lived in these so-called model apartments. They were not pretty enough. I worked at House of Style. They were no Cindy Crawford, I'll tell you that. They were not pretty enough. They were not the right thing at the time. Models were very specific, especially supermodels. They were living in dorms, in a nice apartment on the Upper East Side, probably 4 to 8 of them in a 1 or 2 bedroom. Most of them didn't speak English. Me and my friends that lived in that area would see them, would think, who are these girls? And they're all there to be models, right? Victoria's Secret models, by the way, because don't forget, Les Wexner was his pal and his partner. And I realize now, years later, that those girls were all being trafficked by Epstein. and his
And
friends.
again, this is just people willing to do it. So a lot of people you see that we call elite are people who are just willing to do anything at all for that fame.
Right.
And so I want to be very clear, just so as we listen to these final clips here, as we work through this together, a lot of these people that we look up to are the worst.
Yeah, and I think people have to know something else. There is something going on, and this has been a long time, and this is why it's about the children and why I spoke about it at first, that even got me to where I am right now, talking about this openly, is there is a myth that if you don't get in as a model or an actor or a singer, very, very young, and I mean like child actor or 14 years old or 12 years old, that you'll never make it. So a lot of parents that wanted that maybe for themselves will allow their children to be put in terrible situations from which they will never recover. And a lot of the people that really spread the Satan stuff and the real climate cultists and the ones who seem to hate everyone. And you're right, there is an elitist element. It's in New York City too. It's the same guys we talk about, Davos crew, but in Hollywood, that really does look at the rest of the people on this planet as below them. And
I just remember, I was backstage, Mel, at a particular event with a particular artist, and the comment was made of, people are so dumb.
Yeah.
And it's going, it's just, they're so dumb, and I'm going, okay. I can understand if you're around, if you're, surrounded by hundreds of thousands of fans all the time, and maybe they're overwhelming, but it's like, it's just so ridiculous. And I've got to go out there and do this and do that and this and that. And if we want to get
right,
together,
they hate their audience. They hate their audience. They
so it's
think
like
it's below them.
Right. So it's like, so we can get together after I do this, I'll do that, but I got to go out there and say this and say that. And if I do that, the crowd will respond this way and I'll do that. And then it's all staged and just where then it's everything is just so cynical. Nothing is sincere. It's just gross. Okay. So I'm going to play this next video clip. I just want people to understand this because I think a lot of people are going, well, J-Lo said to get the shot. Did you see that they all got PPP loans and they all got them forgiven? Jay-Z and Kanye and everyone that was promoting the shot got all these PPP loans in the millions and millions of dollars, and they were all forgiven. So put that together with what you're about to show. I also want to put this out here for a second. Kanye hopped into Christian music for a minute. And then Bieber hopped into Christian music for a minute. And then they both decided to team up with Marilyn Manson to do a Sunday service together that involves burning the Bible. And so what they do is they hop into the world of Christian music, and then Christians are like, oh, cool, Kanye's a Christian. And Bieber hops in. They go, oh, cool, Bieber's a Christian. And then your kids follow them onto YouTube.
Sunday service on Halloween, but the choir concert.
It's on Halloween.
Kanye, who legally changed his name to just Ye.
Look, it looks like Eyes Wide Shut.
Rooftop, and had a number of guests in tow, all dressed in white. Roddy Ricch and Justin Bieber joined the Flashing Lights rapper at the helm. Justin gave a blessing and performed during the event.
God, thank you for your people.
What?
So sick.
And then there's Marilyn Manson. It's just the grossest. It's just just sick. Let's continue. Here we go. Hit and play.
They know they're finding something very creepy and very strange. Well, here's the other part of the story. Mr. Hirschman, I told him he needs to get a chemical analysis, and he tried for months. He even talked to a couple of people whose names you would recognize, but they gaslighted him and they stalled him. So finally, I said to him around May, I've had it. I'm going to get involved. I'm not going to do the analysis. I don't have that kind of expertise, but I thought of Mike Adams. He's got a nationally certified lab, and he is a microscopy expert.
I mean, this is obviously sounding increasingly.
Oh my God.
Episode.
Wearing a mask. He knows the whole truth.
You could upload, you could basically store your memories as a backup. And
they all keep talking about how this is all like a Black Mirror episode. They keep saying it's a
obviously sounding increasingly like a Black Mirror episode. Everything that's encoded in memory,
addictive programming.
You could upload. You could basically store your memories as a backup and restore the memories.
Now, Jordan, have you watched Black Mirror?
I have not. No.
Okay, it's good for your soul. Okay, awesome. Carter has watched Black Mirror, and Carter was telling me, Carter works here. Carter says, dude, what's happening is a lot like Black Mirror. So you've all know Harari's sitting down. This poor lady has to interview him about, what's your favorite book?
So maybe my favorite book is Brave New World.
Now watch the jackassery. These people, this is how the whole world works. Okay. This is how this world works. They're getting paid to affirm by nodding their head and because it makes the viewer feel like that everybody's in agreement. So that this is part of the game. And then look how happy she looks here, Mel. Her job is to, it's just.
So maybe my favorite book is Brave New World by Aldous Huxley, which is still, I think, the most prophetic book of the 20th century.
Oh my God, that's not true. Aldous Huxley was a eugenicist, just like him.
And then this is the show.
I fell asleep among the flowers.
This is New London.
For a couple of hours.
Everyone's happy here. Everyone has a place to hunger and violence.
There's no pain there, John.
And then she follows up with her question, and again, her job is to seem very excited about his answers. So here we go.
That's the worst part. The people that clap, you see DiCaprio and Biden and Kerry stand up and clap for Harari, and you think, my God.
Instead of another book, I'll recommend a TV series. I think that Black Mirror is maybe the best
So sick. Look at her.
TV show of the last year.
In this world, we're all so caught up in our own heads. It's easy to lose sight of what's real.
So Mel, how does this whole thing work of where in movies, they typically tell a vision before it comes to pass? How does that whole thing work?
Well, it's called predictive programming. It goes all the way back to the beginning. It's mind control. It's making things normal that they want to happen. So, they know that this is all happening. Harari wants you to see that. That's not true about Brave New World. Huxley was a real bad guy. They knew what they were doing. And with that book too, that is what he wanted. That is what they wanted. And I will tell you, this is what they want. But this Brave New World, Black Mirror, there's a bunch of them like this. Like I was talking about the new Blade Runner. That is what Agenda 2030's end goal is. And it's a total technocracy, totally technology, totally controlled. But again, predictive programming, when things start to happen slowly, like they talk about the frog and the boiling water, that is what they're doing. But this stuff, there's also a show, Euphoria, that is horrendous. And it's all about teenagers just being total drug addict idiots with no gender or all fluid. And again, the same company, the same people. It is going towards telling people this is going to be your future, so that when they start to implement it slowly, like they are right now, with the microchips and the injections and the getting your kids injected and the transhumanism, you accept it because it's not so outlandish. And the sad part is there is I'd say probably 10 to 15% of the people on this planet will willingly go and get these implants, will think that this is a good idea because they're selling it. Even the digital wallet that's coming from the very top. And I mean, that is the most, it's everything, track and trace surveillance. There are people out there that are looking at it and thinking, well, it's way more convenient to, but they just don't understand that they're being programmed to be either serfs, slaves, sheeple, or no longer alive.
Now I want to pull this next clip here, and I want to get to everyone. So I want to make sure people understand this. Okay. I don't know who this person is. I don't know who they are. I've never met this particular person, so I'm not going to apologize for her, but I'm just going to explain to you what I know to be true. Okay. Every time I've ever been on the news locally, there's someone who looks like this, and let me just walk you through the features here. Kind of a symmetrical face, someone who could have been a homecoming king or queen, someone who's got a good smile, someone who's kind of flirtatious and they're into style. That's what they do. And they want to be on TV. They want to be, and they can't quite be on New York. They can't be on Fox News or CNN for whatever reasons yet, but they're given a local slot. And the local slot is where the local guy, they can't quite become the national guy. They can't do it. And they're told, if you dominate in this local market, Tulsa, Tampa, if you dominate in South Dakota, you based upon your designated marketing area ratings that come in from Nielsen and the like, if you do the things we ask you to do, you someday could become, oh yes, you could become the next Anderson Cooper. And they go, Anderson Cooper? He has his own show. Holy crap. And they go, I could be Anderson Cooper. And they go, listen, and I'm telling you, this is what I see all the time. So in Tulsa, a personalities, I would say, came to me and they said, Clay, you're going to have General Flynn come to a town hall in Tulsa. This is before the Reopen America tour, before the Reawaken America tour. And we would love to interview him. And Clay, I've known you for decades. One young lady used to be on my payroll. Another guy was on my payroll. One guy gets his haircut at the stores. And they're like, we would love to interview. We'd love to. Can we get the interview? I said, sure. So they show up looking like this and looking like that, looking like this, no masks on. And they roll up and they said, Clay, is it okay if we interview General Flynn? I said, absolutely. He said, it's cool. I've known you guys for years. They said, well, we need to put on a mask though for the interview. Like we don't have to wear a mask in your office, but when the interview's on. So the interview goes on and they pull out this extended microphone, Mel. It's the extended. So you have a microphone, then you have like a boom stand. And they're like, I'm not kidding. They bring out the boom stand. Now, just so we know, this is a stand. And this stand allows this microphone to be over here. They have a boom stand they brought out and they put it out. So they're like interviewing General Flynn with a fishpole and a mask. And they go, excuse me, General Flynn, a lot of people have said in the media that you've been, and I ask them questions. And they finish the interview and I say, what is wrong with you? You absolutely know that the models that said the 2.2 million Americans would die from COVID-19 are false. The PCR test, the polymerase chain reaction tests are false. The treatments for COVID-19 are 100% real. We've had this discussion. You know this. They go, well, the thing is, my boss is putting a lot of pressure on me. We have to adhere to the CDC guidelines.
Right.
So I went to their boss because I know the boss. So I go to the boss and the boss goes, Clay, I'm getting a lot of pressure from my guys up top that I have to adhere to the CDC guidelines or I could lose my role, my job. And this is just what happens. So I want you to watch this real quick. And this is how I am praying every day that this is not the time where the Revelation chapter 13, verse 16 through 18 is fulfilled. I'm praying that Matthew chapter 24 is not being fulfilled right now. It'd be great to not have that happen right now. Or maybe it'd be great to see the return of the Lord. But I'm just saying this is how people are being sold on this technology. So watch this.
Trending today at 6:23, a British company has an idea that would let you ditch your wallet or purse and still be able to pay for things. But as you can imagine, not everyone's on board with this one. And here's why. They're selling microchips to implant under your skin. The company Walletmore says the $300 chip is the size of a grain of rice. You'd most likely have it implanted in your hand. And once it's activated, you can use it at a checkout by just swiping your hand over the card reader.
So I would love this because I never know where my debit card is. It's usually in one of their wallets. So if I could put it right in my hand.
That's what they do. Jordan, have you met these people? Have you met these kinds of people?
I think so, yeah.
I'm just telling you, some of the dumbest people I've met work in mainstream local media. And they just read the prompter. So Mel, I'm putting show notes here. I'm going to give you the final 5 minutes to share whatever's on your heart right now. People are so excited to see you at the Reawaken America tour. I know that many of our listeners are discovering your website for the first time. And if you haven't discovered it, your website is like a treasure trove of it's like all the facts all in one place. It's
under the Mel K Show.
Yeah, I want to pull this up here. It's themelkshow.com. And it is just like a treasure trove of facts. Show notes are there. It's a powerful tool there. Your research is there.
Hit the resources button and show people that they need to do their own research. They can just go there. And if you scroll down all the way, you'll have even my Reawakening America tour slides. You can look up any candidate, anything you want. You can find information. on FBI D-Class and the WikiLeaks and all of that. We tried to put it all out there for free. If there's anything you want to research, it's a good place to start.
And I'll say this, General Flynn says you are one of his favorite presenters. He really loves your presentation. So I'm going to give you the floor. What is it that you want to share with the listeners out here today as we wrap up?
Well,
today?
I do want to talk a little bit about, I know you and I have been trying to get out there about the Executive Order 14067 and how it connects to the track and trace and the surveillance and all of that. And I understand everyone is looking at the 87,000 agents, but I've been looking into this. First of all, I think that this whole consolidating the money into a one world money currency thing started under Obama with the crash of 2008. So if anyone out there has information about really the global governance of banking, starting with that manipulation in 2008, and that it's the same people involved in the central bank digital currency now, all of them, including Brian Deese of the We're Saving the Liberal World Order, was the guy who did Too Big to Fail. This consolidation of money is old, and everyone should look at what Kissinger said when he said that if you control the food, you control the people. If you control the oil, you control the continent. If you control the money, you control the world. This has been the long game for them. And I think people need to also look at the other side of the IRS billions, because that is going towards AI and algorithms. And I believe what they planned before the pandemic, BlackRock discussed going direct to the people. I think something is going on that's bigger than, it's not about money, as you and I know, but there's something going on that connects to everything we're talking about with an algorithm and AI controlled by them. It'll be under the guise of a central bank digital currency. I don't think they'll win this. I know what they're planning. That would also incorporate the World Health Organization, all of your health stuff, biometric data. You'd have to download it. But there's something in there about ending all of our governments. It's not going to go through our government. It would go through them. And the thing that you need to know about all of this stuff is that the data would be shared amongst them with an international also surveillance police cooperation.
Oh, come on.
So you really have to realize that, and going direct would also mean we have to really reject this central bank digital currency ESG score, but the going direct with the IRS would be them skipping the entire, we have to wonder the 87,000 agents, but the money that they're putting into the technology to create an AI algorithm to do your taxes for you without you involved, through tracking and tracing all of your, everything you spend throughout the year, and then them deciding it and going direct with your taxes is in this information that's coming out.
Now, Mel, a couple things I want to
Something
tell you.
is people need to pay attention. It's not just about that executive order. It is way bigger than that.
Now, Mel, I'm going to put on the end of today's show the rest of the clips I wanted to get through with you today, so people can see those clips. But you have such a rich knowledge of all these things that are all coming together: the corruption of Hollywood, the corruption of the World Health Organization, the World Economic Forum, all these areas that people don't see how they're all connected. And I'm just going to end by playing this little clip here. This is Executive Order 14067 that Joe Biden signed that goes into effect on December 13th. Here we go. And
where were you on March 9th, 2022, when President Biden signed the death warrant on American freedom? On that day, in a hush ceremony at the White House, without the approval of Congress, the states, or the American people, Biden signed into law Executive Order 14067. Buried in his order are a few paragraphs titled Section 4. The language in Section 4 makes Order 14067 the most treacherous act by a sitting president in the history of our republic, because Section 4 sets the stage for legal government surveillance of all U.S. citizens, total control over your bank accounts and purchases, and the ability to silence all dissenting voices for good. On March 26, 2022, Fox News sounded the alarm. Biden Order 14067 is a truly remarkable and deeply troubling development. If a digital dollar were to be created, it would dramatically expand the power and influence of the federal government and Federal Reserve in ways most Americans won't understand until it's too late to roll it back.
Quick summary. I was put on Twitter pause the other day, put in Twitter timeout
I
because
can't believe you're still there. I'm so
oh my gosh, it's so crazy. Yeah, Aaron Antis delivered a sermon where he talked about Klaus Schwab, Yuval Noah Harari. Boom, they put me in Twitter jail. I just got out of Facebook jail, back in Twitter jail, YouTube permanent jail, LinkedIn. I've been in permanent LinkedIn jail since January of, I think, 2020. So, I mean, you can't, there's all these different, well, they can do that with your money with programmable currency.
It's
And
way
so
worse than that. Yeah, it's really bad.
So what I want people to understand here is Mel has an unbelievable variety of shows she's putting out on her rumble.com channel, other sources, where Mel is explaining to us and to everybody out there the connection between Executive Order 14067, the purpose of the COVID-19 shots, the path that the elites have taken to do deals with the devil, predictive programming, blackmail, all of it's crescendoing, and you're basically seeing team evil versus team good, team Satan versus team Jesus. And Mel is one of the few people that has put it all together. And I'm honored to call you friend. I really do think you're doing a great job. And again, you're just a source of wisdom. Jordan, has your mind been blown today?
It has. I've learned a lot.
What would be the most mind-blowing thing you've learned today? Just that you've heard today so far?
Can't pick a thing. I can't pick a thing. Maybe the clot.
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe a lot
creature.
of people will tell me, you know, Clay, there's a lot of people. There's some confusion within the medical industry about what these shots do. No. These shots are working very effectively. These RNA modifying nanotechnology shots, they're working very effectively to put RNA modifying nanotechnology inside your body. That's what they were designed to do. And people go, oh, it's
And you know, it's Clay. I said this earlier that Moderna is suing Pfizer and BioNTech for using the mRNA technology. What, they're attacking each other? I think that's very interesting to see what comes out of that lawsuit's discovery.
There's a guy I talked to this week, and I'll leave you with this. I met a guy this week. I know a guy who was a longtime friend of mine who was telling me the story of a person that he interacted with, and the person he interacted with was having some problems moving around, and you know, and this person's in ministry, and so they said, "Hey, could you pray for me?" So the guy in ministry says, "Sure." And he said, "What's the problem?" He goes, "I went to the doctor, and they found a 4-foot long blood clot in my body that's growing." And so he's like, "I can't stand, or I might have risk of a heart attack." And people are seeing this at scale. So Mel, thank you for being a source of wisdom. I'm probably going to have to go look at the bottom of a 9-volt just to kind of sort this one out there.
It'll be okay. And thank you so much for everything you do. I'm looking forward to seeing you in Washington State and Idaho border up there. And I'm also looking forward to, we are excited to come see Jim Brewer do a nice event in Tulsa. Lots of fun stuff coming up, and I will be there every step of the way because you are one of my favorite people on the planet. Thank you for everything you're doing, and enjoy your new knowledge, Jordan.
Oh, I am.
Now, Mel, I will say real quick, we have 997 tickets left for the Reawaken America Tour of Washington right now. As of last time I checked. And what's really exciting is that Eric Trump is doing interviews about the tour on what I call truth channels. And so soon you're probably going to hear Eric Trump on Mel K's channel and other channels soon here because he's sharing the word. And what's really neat is that he sort of serves as a validator for people that have been labeled as crazy. And what's happening, there's an energy now where we're getting like one ticket request every 30 seconds. So if you're thinking of joining us for the Washington, Idaho event in September or the Pennsylvania event in October, go to time2freeamerica.com to claim those tickets, time2freeamerica.com to request those tickets. If you want to download a free copy of The Great Reset versus The Great Reawakening, you can get that at time2freeamerica.com. If you want to watch the documentary about The Great Reset versus The Great Reawakening, you can download that for free at time2freeamerica.com. And if you want to learn everything about everything, go to themelkshow.com. themelkshow.com. Take care, Mel.
Thank you, buddy. See you soon. Thanks.
No, they're not blood clots. And what I'm about to say is going to sound really crazy, but I trust you will look into it. Look into Intrabody Nano Network administered through Vax. No, they're not blood clots.
In January or February, an embalmer came forward. He was board certified. He's a great guy. He's also a licensed funeral director, very trained. And he said, Dr. Jane, I just got to come out and tell you, I've been finding these clots in people. When I try to embalm them, I can't get in. You know, embalming is pushing, the blood out and pushing new preservative fluid in. And he said, I had to clear the way, and I'm finding these white, stringy, clots that are fibrous. And I don't know what they are. I've never seen them before 2021, like mid 2021. And so, for several months, he started sending me pictures and videos, and other embalmers, to tell you the truth, have come forward to me and they've shown me their pictures and their videos, but they don't want to come out and talk about it. They're not afraid for their jobs. They're afraid for their lives, they told me. because they know they're finding something very creepy and very strange. Well, here's the other part of the story. Mr. Hirschman, I told him he needs to get a chemical analysis, and he tried for months. He even talked to a couple of people whose names you would recognize, but they gaslighted him and they stalled him. So finally I said to him around May, I've had it. I'm going to get involved. I'm not going to do the analysis. I don't have that kind of expertise, but I thought of Mike Adams. He's got a nationally certified lab and he is a microscopy expert. So I reached out to him. He's a friend, and I have a show on his Brighteon TV on Monday nights, a live show. And he said, absolutely, I'll do it. And Clay, the first part of it was he did microscopy. He like replicated, and he did it on Alex Jones, and we were live, and he had his microscope on the table. And Alex said it was one of the best shows he'd ever seen, which was kind of fun. But on the downside and the sad side, he magnified slices of the stuff that Mr. Hirschman gave us, and he found circuitry. He found materials in there that he couldn't recognize. But here's the other part. He did a first level chemical analysis after that, and he said to me, I can tell you right now what it's not. I'm still doing chemical tests, but I can tell you what it's not. And Clay, this is what he told me. It's not protein, it's not amyloid, it's not platelets, and it's not a blood clot. It's not blood, and it's not organic. It's not a living thing like you and I would think about. Now, this has got to scare a lot of people, but we told you there's a lot of direction that whatever they put in these shots, the mRNA, the signaling, the genetic signaling, that's only what they told us, Clay, or what great people like Karen Kingston have dug up in the patents. We don't know the totality of what's in these things or what other RNA signaling is in there. So who knows? But that's where we are so far, except that he did do another analysis and he finished it a few days ago and he published it, and he got some combustion, like these clot material when he put certain acids on it, which normally he said to me, if it was meat, like if he had tissue in there, it would just dissolve. He said, and he showed the video, it exploded. It was combustible.
Look into Interbody Nano Network administered through VAX. Just type in those keywords. Then look into transhumanism.
There's a joint report from the government of the UK and Germany about transhumanism. Mm-hmm. And as you know, this is one of the agendas of the World Economic Forum. That's not hidden. It's not a conspiracy, transhumanism. And they talk about the RNA vaccines as an entry point. Kind of opening that space ethically and otherwise.
Then look into the Internet of Bodies. Then look into how the Internet of Bodies is going to tie into and become the foundation of this new digital financial system that's coming.
We tend to establish the equivalence with cash, and there is a huge difference there. For example, in cash, we don't know, for example, who's using a $100 bill today. We don't know who is using a 1,000 peso bill today. A key difference with the CBDC is that central bank will have absolute control on the rules and regulations that will determine the use of that expression of central bank liability. And also we will have the technology to enforce that. Those two issues are extremely important, and that makes a huge difference with respect to what cash is.
Where were you on March 9th, 2022, when President Biden signed the death warrant on American freedom? On that day, in a hush ceremony at the White House, without the approval of Congress, the states, or the American people, Biden signed into law Executive Order 14067. Buried in his order are a few paragraphs titled Section 4. The language in Section 4 makes Order 14067 the most treacherous act by a sitting president in the history of our republic, because Section 4 sets the stage for legal government surveillance of all U.S. citizens, total control over your bank accounts and purchases, and the ability to silence all dissenting voices for good. On March 26, 2022, Fox News sounded the alarm. Biden Order 14067 is a truly remarkable and deeply troubling development.
Do you feel like you're sounding the alarm
Yes.
for people that don't understand what the is going on?
So here, I'll put it up for you here, yeah? So there's the video.
Yes.
I don't know if your camera can see that, but
No.
there's the video. There's him speaking about it.
The G7 is launching a set of public policy principles for retail central bank digital currencies, CBDCs. Central bank digital currencies could be a digital version of money, a bit like a digital banknote that could be used alongside physical notes and coins. Unlike most of the digital money people use daily today, it would be issued directly by a central bank, like the Bank of England in the UK.
Right, so that's the guy who runs our economy in the UK. His name's the Chancellor of the Exchequer. And here is the article. Bank of England tells ministers to intervene on digital currency programming, yeah? And here's a quote from the article. This is in the Telegraph, the one he pulled up, but it was behind a paywall, so I'll just read the quote. Digital cash could be programmed to ensure it is only spent on essentials or goods which an employer or government deems to be sensible.
Holy
I'm going to take it one step further for you, Joe, right? So the vaccine passport infrastructure is in place. But now we know that the vaccine doesn't stop infection or transmission, but the checkpoint Charlie exists everywhere. They bring in digital banking, central banking digital currencies. You've got a scenario now that you're checking in and out everywhere you go using vouchers that are programmed and you can only spend where you're told you can spend them. There's another word for that, man. That's called the Chinese social credit system.
They're constantly monitored by facial recognition cameras that are able to instantly put a face to a name. Now, the Chinese are also ranked, given a mark out of a possible 950 points. A score in the 700s is considered good. Around the 500 mark is not. For now, the number is a sort of bank credit rating, keeping track of everyone's spending habits.
I think being ranked is a good thing. A society has to have rules.
It forces us to be well behaved.
It may seem scary, but it's just like that here. We're used to it. And anyway, we don't have a choice.
And then it's all going to make sense. It is self-assembling nanotechnology for the purpose of creating a carbon nanotube network within the human body to make the human body a device that can eventually be linked into the Internet of Bodies.
What we've designed, and we've done this very, very quietly, but we're glad to now release it to the world, is this idea of Teslaphoresis, which is a discovery we made several years ago, and we've been developing it. And Teslaphoresis is, the simplest way to understand it is self-assembly at a distance, just long distance assembly of materials. And what we did was, because we're at Rice, we had plenty of nanotubes around, so we decided to use nanotubes. And what we discovered was that these nanotubes can actually string together and form wires by themselves under this electric field.
This fundamental idea of force acting at a distance, that you can have, instead of, when you normally build circuits and things like that, you have to have physical contact. Now we're talking about building circuits without actually touching them.
All right, we're just dispersing this. Power on, and up. I realized that a Tesla coil could actually do this if you designed it in a way to create a very strong force field in front of it. And so that was the engineering aspect of it. And then once I designed the machine, then all sorts of discoveries started falling out of it.
Oh, that was a good one. Teslaphoresis is one of those things, it's a project that there are just so many avenues, so many things that I think you can do with it. Not just making conductive wires, but taking it in so many different places, not only just biomedical and engineering, but taking it into different industries like silicone chips or exploring different conductive materials.
This also ties in just generally in nanotechnology that self-assembly is very big. That is, if you can get things to build themselves, just as in biology, we build ourselves.
When my son saw it, he called them webs. He thought it was like Spider-Man shooting webs out. And it really is. It's very much like a web sort of stringing out together. And that was a surprising finding. And the physics of that is actually a lot richer than what we had originally thought. So there is new science coming out of this as we go.
The difference of this fourth industrial revolution is it doesn't change what you are doing. It changes you. If you take genetic editing, just as an example, it's you who are changed. And of course, this has a big impact on your identity.
And offers certain kinds of possibilities that have to be careful about. When you began to do that kind of gene editing, some people worry that you are changing what it means to be human.
Humans are now hackable animals. The whole idea that humans have, they have this soul or spirit and they have free will and nobody knows what's happening inside me. So whatever I choose, whether in the election or whether in the supermarket, this is my free will, that's over. Free will, that's over.
That's over.
Over. Today, we have the technology to hack human beings on a massive scale. Everything is being digitalized. Everything is being monitored. In this time of crisis, you have to follow science. It's often said that you should never allow a good crisis to go to waste, because a crisis is an opportunity to also do good reforms that in normal times people will never agree to. But in a crisis, you see, we have no chance. So let's do it.
Vaccine won't help us go
the
to
vaccine
the test, of course.
will help us, of course. It will make things, more manageable. Surveillance. People could look back in 100 years and identify the coronavirus epidemic as the moment when a new regime of surveillance took over, especially surveillance under the skin, which I think is maybe the most important development of the 21st century, is this ability to hack human beings, to go under the skin, collect biometric data, analyze it, and understand people better than they understand themselves. This, I believe, is maybe the most important event of the 21st century. By hacking organisms, elites may gain the power to re-engineer the future of life itself. Because once you can hack something, you can use...
It is biotechnology, created through the manipulation of lipids with polyethylene glycol, pegylation. Polyethylene glycol is one of the components that can be used to make hydrogel. And after the self-assembling nano network is administered in the human body, along with nanosensors, which is what those round modulars that people are finding, the next step is a form of a chip, which will probably come in the form of like a quantum dot tattoo that will be initiated for the usage within the digital financial system that is coming. But once that chip is put in place with the intrabody nano network, that will be the authentication and individualization of every human body that has this technology within it, the network and the chip, making them all devices linked into the Internet of Bodies. The psychological, biological, genetic, and physiological data from every single individual will be what backs the new financial system. Information is the new gold. And all of the data being harvested no longer requires permission or notification from anyone that took this jab, because they are now GMOs, which is a product owned by a corporation. The head of that corporation is BlackRock.
A good two-way communication system, direct communication system between brains and computers, this is kind of the watershed moment. Once you have a good two-way, nobody has any idea what happens after that. If you have a good two-way communication system directly between brains and computers, it also means you can connect several brains together to create an inter-brain net because it's the same system, the same communication system. And nobody has any idea what this means for things like identity. Who am I when I can access directly the brain of another person?
Well, on part one of today's show, everybody got a chance to hear from Mel K, who's based in New York, who is out there trying to save America, save the world by sharing the truth about what's going on with the United Nations and the corruption and what it does to people when the United Nations is allowed to create a cycle of dependency. And now on the other side of the world, we have another entrepreneur, truth teller, and minister by the name of Vidar Lagarde joining us. Vidar, welcome on to the Thrive Time Show. How are you, sir?
Hey, thank you so much. Doing awesome.
So, Vidar, where are you right now?
Right now, we're in Nairobi, Kenya, East Africa, just a little bit away from Jenks, Oklahoma.
How often do you go to Nairobi?
Well, I stopped counting at 1.5 million miles and 50 trips. I don't know anymore.
How did you first discover Nairobi? I mean, what brought you to, I guess, where did you grow up? And then how did you end up going to Nairobi?
Right. So grew up in Norway, Viking country, son of Thor. My hammer is in the US right now, but always had a heart to help people in Africa. The issues of dependency and all of this swung by in Oklahoma. I went to Rhema Bible Training College and found a plane that went to Nairobi, and I've been working here since 2006.
Since 2006.
It's been a few years.
Wow.
Very fruitful, very rewarding.
So why do you do it? Why do you go to Nairobi?
Well, there's a lot of different places you can go, but I can't stand seeing people that are taken advantage of, people that are in debt, people that are in various situations and can't seem to find their way out of the mire and the mess that they're in and learning how to produce economically for themselves. And so great opportunities here to help people. Next door, we have Congo. It's the 4th poorest country on earth. Only 10% of the population there has access to electricity. So it's hard for us in the Western world to fathom what these areas are even going through.
So when you're there now, what is the goal? Now that you're in Nairobi, what's the goal?
The goal is to help even more people. You know, we're helping maybe around 100,000 people that get ministered to every single week. We want to escalate that and help larger and larger segments of society come out of the dependency syndrome that they're in.
And you actually sent me over an email for today's interview, just some kind of highlights of what you're doing with the ministry. So I'm going to pull this up here.
Yeah, sure.
You said, fun fact, Kenya just had elections and the Supreme Court is not hearing a case on election fraud. Smartmatic provides the election systems in Kenya, and some of the election workers were brought in from Venezuela. The funny part is that the runner-up, tell us about this.
Yeah, it's sort of fun. So we land on election night. A lot of people say we're brave because there's been some issues with past elections. But the funny part to me is the runner-up of the elections here in Kenya. His son's name is Fidel Castro. It's common in culture here to name your son after somebody that you really look up to. So the name of his son is Fidel Castro. That kind of tells you where this runner-up is coming from politically.
His name is Fidel Castro?
He did. But now he's mad at people from Venezuela because he alleges that they came in and rigged the system here. And to me, they're Fidel's brothers from Venezuela. You know, so it's just really amusing that you're blaming people of your own ideology for rigging a system. So now, it's just a funny fact there.
Now, you were going to tell us a story about a very remote desert part of eastern Kenya. Tell us about this story.
Yeah, so I sent you a picture. There's a before and after picture there of a church that we helped. That's about 10 years ago. This particular church, they met in just a dilapidated mud hut.
Wow.
There's the before and after picture. On the left-hand side, you see the mud hut that they met in. And you know, when that's the church building in the community, you can just imagine the poverty level of that particular community. Some years after, you see the church on the right-hand side. So there's all kinds of changes that are taking place. This is halfway between Nairobi and the Somali border. It's not far from the camp where we have trained up the military police that handle security on the Kenya-Somalia border. We've trained a lot of the chaplains out there, but you can see in that picture on the right-hand side that there's a lot of development that's happening as a result of the people that we trained. We operate also Rhema Bible Training College here in Kenya. So that's the pastor about 10 years ago. And in this particular area, people would walk 2 hours every day just to fetch water.
Wow.
I mean, the level of poverty is just difficult for us to imagine. But a 2-hour walk, women with their buckets on their head, for 2 hours every day, just so they can have drinking water and wash their clothes.
That's
very, very poor.
And so how do people take to you when you show up and start sharing the gospel with them?
Well, there's so many people that come in with resources. There's a pastor here in a neighboring community, and he's trying to help people. So he's handing out a little bit of food and doing different things. And he's noticing that the more he helps, the worse the dependency syndrome gets. And so one day he stops just handing stuff out for free and goes, we need to do something here. In this particular region, they get rain only 2 times a year.
Wow.
It only rains twice a year. And the ground is so hard that rain usually just runs right into the creek beds and the river beds and washes out into the ocean. So nothing grows as a result of that rain. Well, in this neighboring community, he goes, we need to build some dams. They start building dams. I sent you some of those pictures and some of that footage to collect the water so that you can have it for a while, puts in a pump, and is now able to use the same water for 6 months, pumping water into fields and turning this arid land into fields. And he says after they have done that, the community gets a hold of these principles, and poverty is gone from the community and the dependence syndrome is gone.
So let me pull this up here. You sent this to me. This is we got a video here. Dropbox video. So let me go ahead and pull this up.
Yeah, there's a couple of videos in there.
The reason why I like to have Vidar on the show here is, a lot of people say, well, what can I do to help? And a lot of people feel legitimately called to go. You say, I do feel called. I want to be called. I want to go overseas and share the gospel. And some people feel like, I have a job, I have a family, I have things I do in America, but maybe I'm maybe I'll write a check for $5 a month, or maybe I'm somebody who wants to write a larger amount, or maybe I want to see how it goes and write a one-time donation, but maybe you're looking for a way to support. This is the video here.
Yeah, just a very short clip, and you can see how dry this particular area is. It's very, very dry. And this is before irrigation here. Very difficult to get anything going. But if you look at that next video there, you can see what happens after you start with irrigation. So it's the same principles. Everywhere you go, people want to blame the government. They want to blame their college. They want to blame their parents. They want to blame whatever they have been in contact with to create the surroundings that they have. You've got to shift that mentality and realize that the surroundings that we have is a result of the person we see in the mirror in the morning. It's a result of what we've been thinking, doing, and acting on the last 5 years. That has created our current environment. And, like you say, people change, but too seldom. And if we don't change our environment, 5 years from today, it's going to be identical to what it is today if we don't do something different from what we did to get to where we are.
Very true. Now, who's this guy here?
This is Pastor William Meny. He is out in this area, and he's helping people with these mindset changes to help them understand you can't look for a politician. You can't look for the NGOs. Actually, one of the guys out here, he said, if I were the president, I would take all the aid organizations and I would send them out of Kenya. He really understands what happens, because the more aid organizations you have, the more free stuff people get. And it's just like what we're doing in the United States today, cancels everybody's college debt. And it's it's detrimental to those who want to work hard, and it doesn't incentivize the right kind of behaviors. So he says, send out all the NGOs. So this is Pastor William Menney here, and he's working in these really, really dry communities, helping them to understand you've got to do something yourself, and you've got to do something about this water problem we have in this area.
Can you briefly explain to us what an NGO is for anybody that doesn't maybe know what an NGO is?
An NGO is a nonprofit organization that predominantly works by, most of them, they deal with handouts. It's the Red Cross, it's the UN, it's the US aid, it's Canadian aid. It's all these billions of dollars that we send over to try to help these poor countries. The problem isn't that we're trying to help, it's the methodology we're using to try to help. You give somebody a pair of shoes. Well, when you give somebody a pair of shoes, what happens is they realize, oh, I need somebody to help me. So now they're looking for somebody else to give them a coat. When they finally find somebody to give them a coat, their pair of shoes are worn out. Now they're looking for somebody else to give them a second pair of shoes. So it just feeds this dependency syndrome. And that's what we have to change. The problem is not lack of money. Lack of money is a result of a mindset that produces lack of money. So somebody has to go in and do the very, very hard work of teaching and training on mindset shifts. And that is when real development starts.
Boom. Now, do you want me to play this video here?
Yeah, go ahead and play some of this video. It's a couple of minutes there, but it's you see in the background, you can see all these trees, and he's explaining what's going on.
Done in a semi-arid area. This is a place where they are doing farming through irrigation, and they have been harvesting water using man-made dams. Behind me here, you can see this is a man-made dam. They did it by hands, and they also followed up with an excavator. They have done a great job. This water has been here now for over 6 months, and every day they are pumping the water into the farm, and this is making life for them very
So it's 6 months of water in an area where they never see water, but they collected the rain when it came that one day.
That is amazing.
And I think if you fast forward that video or go a little bit further, you'll see a pump in that video where they're pumping into land and stuff is growing. There's a second dam that they're building, and it's old school tools, a lot of it, shovels. You're in Oklahoma 100 years ago, we did not get drilling rigs coming out of New York City, but we had the wherewithal within us that we used shovels. If shovel is all we had, that's what we did. And we dug wells in Jenks and Muskogee and all over the place.
Now, I don't see the pump in this video. Is there a different video that you sent me, maybe?
Maybe it's in a second. There should be. Maybe there's another link there with the video.
Let me see here.
I think there's several links in that email.
Oh, yeah, you got a lot of good stuff. Oh, here we go. We got the crop video. Yeah, this is good stuff. Let me pull it up here. Again, this was an area that was previously desert, and you guys went in there and taught people how to grow crops. And let me hit play.
Yeah, there's a good crop video right there. This guy you're seeing in the video, he's at the point where he is exporting beans internationally, French beans being exported internationally. He grew up in this area where nothing ever grows. It looks like New Mexico, it looks like Arizona, looks like you can't do anything, but you can. And the issue isn't that they need a drilling rig coming in from the outside. The issue really is it's a mindset that needs to change. And now that he goes in and changes, people come to this guy all the time asking, how do you do it? How do you do it? So there's this huge ripple effect of neighboring farms where nothing grows. They're learning how to farm, and the economy is just coming up. Employment's being created. This guy, I don't know how many dozens and dozens of people that he is employing in order to create this economic growth. Kenya is a net importer of food, but if you'll use this kind of mindset, if the UN, if US aid was instilling this kind of stuff into people, Kenya would have been an exporter of food.
Now, okay. Now it says, with what you're doing here at Safari Mission, I've just got some notes here. You support yourself pretty much through, smaller donations. I mean, you have some bigger partners that come in. But if people go to safarimission.org, I'm going to pull this up real quick here. I have a lot of clips pulled up from my interview with Mel K. Let me pull this up. If they go to Safari Mission, and it's .org.
Yep, go to safarimission.org.
And we go there. That's where people can learn more and get involved. And if somebody wants to donate, I mean, is it okay if someone wants to donate $5 a month or $50 a month, or how does that work?
You know, we have people that do $5 a month. I got some that are doing $3 whenever they can. I got some that are doing $1,000 a month. But, and people ask me, how much should we do? Well, this is a methodology that has true impact and creates generational change. So how much do you want to do? You look at what you're able to do and ask yourself, how much impact do I want to make? $5, we can train 3-4 people and spend a couple hours with them. And so there is mindset changes that happen with just $5 a month. You really are helping somebody with that $5 a month.
Well, I really do appreciate you, Vidar, carving out time to be here with our listeners. I'll give you the final word here, sir. What's the final word you want to share with our listeners out there who are taking notes, who are inspired, they want to connect? What's the call to action here?
Yeah, sure. There's a whole book here, A Fork in the Road. And the principles are the same. In the United States, we have a lot of people that they go to college, they learn advanced underwater basket weaving, and they find out that, credit card debt is a great way to support you. There's a way out of all of this, and it's the principles of looking ourselves in the mirror, realizing we can't blame somebody or something external, but I've got to take charge of myself. So if you want to reactivate those dreams, turn those dreams into plans, take those plans, and each and every day you have action items and to-do lists that puts you on your way to accomplishing that dream that God has given you. Just leave a line at the information box and just fill out your name and ask a question there at the website at safarimission.org. I'll send you a PDF of this book, A Fork in the Road, Choose Poverty or Prosperity. We're seeing lives all over the world, here in Kenya, in Europe. We get testimonies all over America as well, how this message has helped people from being dependent on their work or being dependent on somebody else and learning how to live self-sufficient lives. So go to safarimission.org. I'll send you a PDF of this book. You go through those principles. They will help you, and just as they're helping people over here in Nairobi, Kenya.
Now, Vidar, final question I have here for you. You moved there from Tulsa, Oklahoma. You took your family back over there. You're uprooting the family and moving over there again. How is it different living in Nairobi versus living in Tulsa, Oklahoma? What are the biggest changes?
Well, I'll just give you one simple change. Here, you move back into a house and you just need something simple like a sofa. In Tulsa, you just go to the store and an hour or maybe two later, that sofa is in